When the holidays start to feel a bit repetitive, reach for a Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry and put your twist on tradition. A bold cranberry and winter spice flavor fusion, Sprite Winter Spiced Cranberry is a refreshing way to shake things up this sipping season. And only for a limited time. Sprite, obey your thirst.
Welcome to episode 123 of the Inside Job Boards and Recruitment Marketplaces podcast. I am Stephen Rothberg with College Recruiter Job Search Site. And question for you, what do you get when you put three highly opinionated people into a room together and ask them to talk about job boards for about 12 minutes? Well, we're about to find out. Peter, good to see you. Happy holidays.
Good to see you. Thank you very much. Happy holidays to you too. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, all of the good stuff. And we've got Matt Charney with us, and it's Charney, not Carney. Some people think you're a carny, but that has to do with carnivals and barkers and stuff like that. You're principal analyst for Kyle and Company. You're executive editor for Media Bistro, and those are two of the 7 things you do. I said I would describe you as an OG, but I don't know that I've ever used that phrase before in my life, and probably will ban myself from ever using it again. So Matt, welcome. Thank you for joining us. AI and job boards, going to put them out of business? One word answer.
No.
Okay, we're done. Thanks very much.
This has been a great episode. See you for 124.
That's a good start. Why don't you give us the 60-second version?
So as far as like job boards going, it's still a giant industry, obviously. I think the most recent estimate I saw on annualized spend is like $36 billion, right? Which is a pretty huge thing to, displace. We've been talking about the death of job boards since I worked at Monster. I like the conversation a lot better now that I'm not defending them as ardently. But, they're still driving 55%, 60%, I think, of external applicants, at least as far as they're hitting ATS systems. And then I guess it kind of depends on your definition of job board. But when you add in like marketplaces, right, like your Upwork, Instacarts, whatever, it's like, I think I read an estimate that's like 28%, I think, of all contingent labor activity. And I think that number is actually going to go up. So you look at like a marketplace model, I do think that AI is going to make matching and discoverability a lot better. But as far as the actual mechanics of where people go to work or to look for work, I don't see that being displaced by LLMs.
So as a job board owner, that's good news.
Yeah.
So question, Matt, in your work, so, Media Bistros, that brand's been around forever.
Yeah.
Really strong brand in the job board world. It, acquired 4 or 5 years ago now by recruiter.com. Now I think it's pronounced Nixie is kind of the new company name. Also with Kyle, just your own research, all that. It seems to me, and I'd like to know if you agree, that there are job boards, marketplaces like the Indeeds, like the LinkedIns, right, that are heavily invested in AI, that are heavily invested in matching. And then there's the rest. And, the second tier, third tier, the smaller niche sites, the mom and pop shops, I hear a lot of angst from a lot of them.
Right.
How are we going to compete? How are we going to keep up? Are we going to be out of business? What are your thoughts for those?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of it really has to do with, I don't want to say gaming, but that would be accurate. Large language models. One thing that I think, the reason why Indeed became the behemoth it did was they figured out deduplication. And so they were never going to compete with Google, but at the same time, they realized that they could rank highly. And at the time, Google accounted for about 85% of job search activity. So what I do see is the ability of small boards, particularly ones with niches, to rank higher on search results and start thinking about things like, the AI info box or Gemini. In the case of a LinkedIn, obviously they're using ChatGPT, so you can test rankings out. And I think that's really where the sweet spot is. And I do think that based off of how LLMs just work, niche sites are going to actually outperform general job boards in terms of just organic result returns. So
Okay, I think we should leave off there and go to episode 124 again. I think we're done, Peter. Right? We
Well,
should just end on a high note. You want to get information, right?
what
You're
what
you're such a party
should
pooper.
small and medium-sized job boards, second and third tier, kind of like Stephen, be doing to make sure that they're still part of the action?
yeah, so I think that a lot of it is just in pricing models for sure. I think that where you're seeing either a slot, which is sort of wasteful if you think about how jobs work, or the general model seems to be shifting to cost per applicant, or excuse me, cost per CPA, cost per activity. So what I see is that moving to CPQA is being a model that's much more viable, particularly as talent intelligence and analytics become much more of a driver of recruiting strategy. So I think that given the communities that they cultivate and sort of the niches that many of those job boards occupy, certainly um, what you can do is outperform the other sources and do so in a way that cost per qualified applicant is the metric by which you're selling. And if you look at those, um, the Indeeds and LinkedIn's of the world underperform really any other source.
Are there many job boards, recruitment marketplaces doing CPQA though? I mean, it seems to be a model that is coming soon, but has been for a long time and hasn't quite gotten here yet.
Yeah. I think that there are some programmatic marketplaces, particularly Jovio, that has embraced that approach relatively recently. You obviously have a little bit of difficulty with, attribution, multi-touch attribution in particular, because obviously you have a JD click-through rate of something like 5%, which isn't great, right? And then furthermore, you have a completion rate for an applicant of around like 8-9% to actually start to finish an application. So I think that those are relatively difficult problems to get to that model, but ones that are becoming increasingly easy to solve for, particularly given that, and think increasingly, you are seeing career site conversions really becoming a point of emphasis. And in doing that, source of hire is and proper attribution is actually being addressed much more. So I think that's the primary obstacle, and I think that the emphasis on multi-touch and career site conversions is going to make that a pretty universal reality in the not too distant future.
Hi, I'm Carmen Hudson. I'm the host of the Recruiting Book Club, and we're starting our second season. I'm so excited to bring to you another set of guests of recruiters who have written books. We are excited to have some very special guests this season. We've got Shally, we've got Craig Fisher, James Ellis, and quite a few other people that we're going to bring on board to tell us about what they wrote, why they wrote it, and maybe we'll veer off into a conversation about recruiting on all types of topics and subjects that happen in our industry. So I hope you can join us. I'm excited.
Interesting. And Peter, great question about the CPQA. It's been like it's just around the corner and it's been there forever.
Well, but the death of job boards has been just around the corner forever too.
Yeah, I think it makes both of those stories make nice headlines for organizations that are competing with job boards for business, or trying to beat job boards up for lower pricing. And there's some validity to it, But if we can, I wanted to switch gears. A couple months back, you wrote an article for the Transform blog that I thought was one of the best things I've ever read. No, and I know you commented that it was like one of the best things that you ever wrote.
Yeah, they let me write a long form Atlantic feature, which very few sites will.
Yeah, so I just for those who are watching the video version, I just put up in the top left corner a QR code for the Transform blog. For those who are listening on audio, just go to like transform.us/Matt Charney, and I think your article will probably come up. The article basically, my words, not yours, but you basically go behind the scenes of, into a warehouse,
Mm-hmm.
talk to employees about the fear, the dehumanizing aspect of it. And for as a job board owner, somebody who obviously the three of us are very involved in this industry, I think at times we forget that the AI that we're talking about building into our process doesn't end with our process. It extends into the workplace. It extends into screening and selection, onboarding, management, terminations, raises, all of that. And I think as an industry, I think we need to be more mindful of that. But maybe you can just kind of give us like a brief, you know, here's what I found, here's what I was surprised about, here's what I was concerned about, and maybe also maybe there were some good things.
Yeah, I think that what I was surprised about coming from the HR technology world is we are so busy talking about things like the impact of AI in the workplace, or things like the pricing models of job boards. And when you go and talk to hourly workers and frontline workers, as it turns out, the single piece of technology that they care about, the only one mentioned is time and attendance, which seems very boring to us. But if you think about, like, if you're being paid hourly or you're getting penalized for showing up late for whatever reason, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So that certainly surprised me. And when asked for where they found jobs, which I don't know if I included that in the article, I was surprised that very few people could actually tell me, with the with the exception of those people who were placed there by temporary agencies. So
Higher touch.
yeah, exactly. Other than that, yeah, I asked every single one, and somewhere online seemed to be the definitive answer. Very few people were able to provide specificity, so that certainly surprised me. And what also did was the fact that they know or feel like they are over managed and scrutinized by analytics, and there's very little loyalty to employers because they are aware that they are essentially human widgets in a machine that, when broken, can be replaced easily.
That's important, and I took a tour of an Amazon warehouse, and you did, Matt. You haven't yet, Stephen, have you?
Correct. I have not, but I've seen them. I've seen videos of it.
Go to amazontours.com. Very interesting, fascinating, spooky. But we have to remember that even 50 years ago and 80 years ago, working in a warehouse was fairly not mind numbing. And if you contrast it to working in a coal mine, it's probably scary, but a whole lot safer, a whole lot better, a whole lot less unhealthy, despite the fact that they're counting the number of widgets you widgetize. And, it can be mind numbing, but then so too can this podcast. And speaking of which, Stephen, uh, speaking of which, we got time for one quick question, or you want to wrap it up? And
Yeah.
thank Matt for being here.
Yeah, you know what? I think the thing about the article, and I would definitely encourage people to read it, because I think some of this stuff it's right now it's largely confined to the large warehouses, but I think soon it's going to permeate a lot of other workplaces, including offices, work from home, whatever. The thing that was different about, say, working in a warehouse 50 years ago, working in a coal mine, whatever, is that I think a lot of these people felt like they reported to a machine, and the machine is either like yes or no, and there was no humanity. My kid was throwing up. I'm 30 seconds late for my shift. Like, oh, 3 of those, you're fired, right? And there was no ability to kind of go back and say, hey, wait, I stayed 10 minutes late to make up for the 1 minute late that I showed up. And it's like, too bad. You either are here or not. No middle ground, no second chances. And that to me was what was very dystopian.
Yeah, and I think AI obviously is going to exacerbate that because it's a rules engine. But the one thing, I just want to wrap is
Yeah.
we are seeing the beginning in a warehouse, the perfect model of essentially the return of scientific management. And this is the promise of both, talent analytics as well as like talent intelligence. We are trying to measure every single thing that an employee does. And at the end of the day, it actually creates increased stress and lower performance simply because you're being overly managed by numbers. And so as that bleeds into knowledge work, I think we're getting a good sense of what not to do now by looking at the front line.
Awesome. Matt, thank you so much for coming on, sharing your thoughts about some fun stuff, some not so fun stuff. I always learn several new things for them to talk to you.
Put that QR code up again as we leave.
Yeah.
Transform.us, Matt Charney, Amazon warehouse, and it should come up. On that note, guys, thank you very much. Happy holidays, happy and healthy new year to all of you. And I hope by the time this airs, I will have shaken the cold. Probably get another one. Be well, guys. Thanks.
Cheers. Happy New Year.